NBC had a science fiction series on a while back. You probably remember it. It was called Star Trek.
Star Trek has always captured the imagination with its incredible visions of the future. But behind the exciting adventures and dramatic space battles, the franchise holds secrets and surprising hidden details that fans have missed for decades. From reused props to sneaky inside jokes, Star Trek is filled with shocking behind-the-scenes stories just waiting to be revealed. But what happened behind the camera was even more unbelievable. 15. Grace Lee Whitney's tragic story. One of the show's most powerful yet overlooked moments involves actress Grace Lee Whitney, who played Yeoman Janice Rand. Originally meant to be a key character and love interest for Captain Kirk, Whitney was suddenly removed after just a few episodes. Years later, Whitney bravely revealed the disturbing truth. She had been victimized by a powerful studio executive around the time she was let go. Her most difficult scene was filming The Enemy Within, where an evil Captain Kirk tries to attack Rand. Though it was deeply unsettling, Whitney praised William Shatner for his kindness and respect during filming. After years of battling personal struggles, Whitney returned to Star Trek in movies and Voyager. Fans remember her for her strength and her unforgettable words. What happened next in her story was even more incredible. 14. NBC sabotaged Star Trek. But the shocking secrets don't stop there. NBC didn't just cancel Star Trek. They quietly sabotaged it. After fans successfully demanded a third season through a massive letter-writing campaign, NBC made a brutal move. They slashed the budget by over 60% and pushed the show into a Friday nighttime slot, where failure was almost guaranteed. Writers had to reuse old sets, cut special effects, and write simpler stories just to survive. The show's creator, Gene Roddenberry, was so frustrated with NBC's treatment that he eventually walked away. Many fans now believe NBC set the show up to fail on purpose. But here's the twist. Star Trek only became the worldwide legend it is today after NBC let it die. 13. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy's broken friendship. The drama didn't stop there. Behind the scenes, Star Trek's biggest stars, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, shared a friendship that was as complicated as it was legendary. At first, Shatner felt threatened by Nimoy's growing fame as Spock, and there was real tension between them. But over the years, they built a deep friendship. They appeared together at conventions, supported each other's careers, and shared personal moments. But everything suddenly fell apart. Nimoy stopped talking to Shatner without warning. Many believe Nimoy was upset because Shatner uses footage in the Captain's documentary without asking. Sadly, Nimoy and Shatner never made peace before Nimoy's passing in 2015, when Shatner didn't attend Nimoy's funeral. People were shocked. Shatner later said he had a charity event that he couldn't miss and shared his regret in his book Leonard. My 50-year friendship with a remarkable man is a heartbreaking end to a complicated friendship. 12. Klingon belts made from bubble wrap. But wait, here's something fans never noticed. In episode Day of the Dove, the Klingon march around wearing tough-looking uniforms with shiny belt buckles. But those alien belts were just bubble wrap painted gold. That's right, the same bubble wrap people pop for fun was used to make the Klingons' gear look high-tech. Once you see the bubbly texture sparkling under the studio lights, you can't unsee it. The props team had to work fast and cheap, and bubble wrap was the perfect trick. Star Trek's team reused costumes, flipped props upside down, and spray-painted everyday objects to create their futuristic world. Isn't that wild? 11. A starship made from ping-pong balls. And the surprises just keep coming. In the Corbomite maneuver, the Enterprise faced a giant alien ship called the Phasarius. It looked huge and mysterious, glowing with futuristic power. But the real secret? It was made almost entirely out of ping-pong balls. Hundreds of ping-pong balls were cut in half, glued together, and painted to create the alien ship's surface. On the fuzzy TV screens of the 1960s, it looked incredible. The props team didn't have a big budget, so they used cheap materials from toy stores and hardware shops. It worked perfectly, and fans never knew they were looking at sports equipment flying through space. 10. Leonard Nimoy created the Vulcan salute. Here's one of the most amazing secrets. One of Star Trek's most iconic symbols wasn't written in the script. The Vulcan salute, paired with the famous words, "Live long and prosper," came straight from Leonard Nimoy's childhood. When he was a boy, Nimoy secretly watched a sacred blessing at his Orthodox synagogue in Boston. The men raised their hands in a unique split-finger gesture, something Nimoy's father told him not to look at. But young Leonard peeked anyway. That magical image stayed with him forever, and he later introduced it as the Vulcan salute on Star Trek. Fans never realized this powerful symbol came from a real-life moment from Nimoy's childhood. Years later, how Leonard Nimoy's childhood changed sci-fi forever. Decades after that sacred moment in his synagogue, Leonard Nimoy stood on the Star Trek set filming Amok Time. He felt the Vulcans needed their own greeting, something that instantly set them apart. That's when Nimoy suggested the hand gesture from his childhood, the one that had always stayed with him. The director agreed without hesitation, and in that instant, television history changed forever. Most fans never knew that this now universal sign wasn't just made up for the show. It was a real blessing, passed down to generations, reborn in a galaxy light years away. 9. Transporters, the budget saver that shaped Star Trek. Beaming across space? It wasn't created to wow. It was made to save money. In the 1960s, Star Trek dreamed big, but their budget was tiny. They couldn't afford to show the Enterprise landing on planets in every episode. It was too expensive and time-consuming. So the team invented something groundbreaking, a transporter that could beam the crew straight from the ship to the surface. Early scripts called it an energy matter scrambler, a strange machine with glowing panels that didn't look like anything on Earth. And that's exactly what made it feel so alien. When the shimmering lights and that unforgettable sound effect came together, fans believed the impossible. In fact, the very first episode ever broadcast, The Man Trap, showed the transporter in action right away. It let the story leap forward without wasting time on landings. Gene Roddenberry later said this one invention helped Star Trek tell faster, stronger stories, and became one of the most legendary sci-fi tools ever created. 8. The Hidden Wound of James Doohan. James Doohan, forever remembered as Scotty, the miracle-working engineer who always saved the Enterprise in the nick of time. But hidden behind his confident smile was a story of bravery and loss. Many fans never realized that Doohan was missing his right middle finger. Before Hollywood, Doohan served in World War II with the Royal Canadian Artillery. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, he stormed Juno Beach under heavy fire. He took out enemy snipers, guided his men through deadly minefields, and bravely held his ground. But then, tragedy struck. An Allied soldier accidentally shot him. 6 bullets hit him. 4 tore through his leg. 1 slammed into his chest, but was stopped by a cigarette case, and 1 ripped through his hand, costing him his middle finger. Back on set, Doohan carefully hid his injury, using clever camera angles, props, and even a skin-colored glove. 7. The Credit Battle. Shatner's name was always bigger. Most fans skip opening credits, but buried in the original Star Trek's introduction is a detail that reveals hidden tension. William Shatner's name was always bigger than Leonard Nimoy's, and it wasn't by accident. In September 1966, during Season 1, a studio memo declared that Nimoy's name must appear at only 75% the size of Shatner's. Shatner's role as Captain Kirk earned him top billing, but something unexpected happened. Spock exploded in popularity. Fans adored the logical Vulcan, and Shatner reportedly wasn't happy about sharing the spotlight. Even though Nimoy's credit was later upgraded to also starring, his name remained smaller on screen. That quiet credit war continued for the entire series, leaving a mark most viewers never even noticed. 6. Aldebaran Whiskey, Earthly Bottles in Space. Think Star Trek's future drinks came from distant planets? Think again. In The Next Generation, Aldebaran Whiskey, a mysterious glowing green drink, looked exotic behind a 10-forward bar. Captain Picard sipped it, and Guinan served it with a smile. But here's the twist. The bottles came straight from Earth. They were actually cleaned-out George Dickel, Tennessee whiskey bottles, filled with green-dyed liquid and slapped with futuristic labels. That wasn't the only trick. Romulan ale? Just blue-colored water. Klingon blood wine? Sometimes it was poured into shampoo bottles, wrapped in wax and bowl labels. The props team mastered the art, transforming everyday objects into sci-fi treasures. 5. Starfleet uniform secrets. Hidden badge codes. At first glance, the Starfleet uniforms in the original series look simple: color-coded shirts, black pants, and that famous arrowhead badge. But if you look closely, there's a secret many fans never caught. For the badge that wasn't always universal, that famous Starfleet arrowhead we all know today, it wasn't always a symbol for everyone. In the 1960s, each ship had its own badge. The USS Enterprise rocked the delta-shaped arrowhead, but if you glance at episodes like the Doomsday Machine, you'll catch Commodore Decker wearing a swirl-shaped emblem aboard the USS Constellation. 3. The pipes that go nowhere. In the background of the Enterprise's halls and engineering rooms, some mysterious pipes quietly sat on the walls, barely noticed. If you look closely, you'll spot them labeled GNDN, which sounds super technical until you hear what it really means. GNDN stood for Goes Nowhere, Does Nothing. That's right. These pipes didn't carry air, power, or futuristic plasma. They were just there to make the set look busy and high-tech. It was an inside joke from the set designers, a little secret reward for sharp-eyed fans who were paying attention. The pipes weren't the only props that were just clever decorations. The famous Trident scanner in sickbay had no real function either. Over time, GNDN became a treasured part of Star Trek's behind-the-scenes history, even popping up in later shows and fan tributes. But some hidden gems were sitting right in front of us. 2. The Enterprise was full of Easter eggs. The glowing ship diagram on Star Trek. The Next Generation's bridge looked like the heart of the Enterprise D, always there in the background. But what fans didn't realize was that the Master System's display wasn't just a cool map. It was packed with hidden surprises. Scenic artist Michael Okuda and his design team had a little too much fun filling the diagram with secret Easter eggs. Tucked away in the ship's decks was a Porsche, a tiny nod to classic cars. There was also an old airplane silhouette, a sneaky duck, a mouse, and even a Nomad space probe from the original series. But the funniest addition? A hamster on a treadmill, playfully imagined as the real power source for the warp core. At the time, no one thought these jokes would ever be seen. The TV resolution was too low to catch them. But now, with HD remasters and behind-the-scenes photos, fans are finally discovering them. Speaking of things hiding in plain sight. 1. Why every alien speaks perfect English. In Star Trek, aliens from every corner of the galaxy seem to speak flawless English. How is that possible? The answer is a universal translator. This clever device is built into communicators and ship systems, instantly translating languages in real time. It adjusts for grammar, slang, and even tone, making cross-planet conversations smooth and natural. The translator pops up across the franchise, like when Ferengi struggle without it in Deep Space Nine's Little Green Men, or when Hoshi Sato works on its early version in Enterprise. In the Next Generation's Darmok, we even see its limits when it fails to translate a language based on stories and metaphors. Of course, in the real world, actors spoke English to save time and production costs, and the translator is just a smart way to explain why everyone seems to sound the same. The device is said to manipulate sound so perfectly that even their lip movements match. But here's something that really surprises fans. Money still exists in Star Trek. Star Trek often paints a future where greed and poverty are gone, and people work to improve themselves, not to chase wealth. Captain Picard once said in First Contact, "Money doesn't exist in the 24th century." Captain Kirk also claimed that people no longer work for profit. But listen carefully, and you'll notice that money, well, some version of it, never fully disappeared. In the original series, Kirk once told Scotty he had earned his pay for the week. Was it just a habit of speech? Or a clue that money still had some meaning? Within the Federation, people's needs are met. Food, homes, healthcare, and education are all free thanks to advanced tech and replicators. But outside the Federation, or even in special places like Deep Space Nine, credits are still used. Characters use credits at Quark's Bar to access holosuits, or to trade with alien cultures like the Ferengi, who are obsessed with gold-pressed latinum. Even species like the Romulans and Klingon have their own economies. So while the Federation might have moved past money, the rest of the galaxy still knows its value. Which Star Trek secret surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.